Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the ABCs of Unsolved Murders. Today, the D stands for Diane Denise Williams. So, Diane was a 17-year-old African American teenager living in Washington, D.C. in the early 1970s. She was born February 2nd, 1955, and was the eldest of 6 children, and was remembered by friends and family for her, quote, incredible taste in fashion and a dream of becoming a model. At the time of her death, she was a senior at Balo High School, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, described as quiet, family oriented, and dedicated to helping at home. So on the evening of September 5th, 1972, she was preparing dinner for her family and then set out to spend time with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend escorted her to the bus stop around 11:20 p.m. The bus driver later confirmed that she left the bus at the MLK and South Capitol Street stop, a short distance from her home. After that, she just vanished, and the next morning her body was discovered along the shoulder of Interstate 295, which was about 2 miles from her home. Her body was found fully clothed but barefoot, a detail that immediately resonated with the grim signature associated with the murders later known as the Freeway Phantom. In a striking twist, her shoes were discovered nearby, and the soles had her name, Diana, written in bold letters, suggesting the perpetrator had deliberately placed them. A modest sum of $1.26 was found in the pocket of her jeans. An autopsy confirmed strangulation as the cause of death, and unlike most of the other victims that are associated with the Freeway Phantom, no evidence of sexual assault was recorded. Semen was present on her clothing, but investigators assume it belonged to her boyfriend, a conclusion the boyfriend disagreed with, noting they had not been intimate that night. The semen sample has sadly never been tested. So, between April 1971 and September 1972, a string of 6 young black girls were abducted and murdered in Washington, D.C., each found barefoot and strangled near major roadways such as I-295, U.S. Route 50, and the Anacostia Freeway. The victims are Carol Spinks, who was 13, Darlenia Johnson, 16, Brenda Crockett, 10, Neno Moshia Yates, 12, Brenda Woodward, 18, and then Diane Williams, 17. They shared a disturbing pattern. They vanished after leaving home for errands, and their bodies were recovered within a few days right next to highways. The killer, which was later called the Freeway Phantom, has never been identified. A handwritten note found with Woodard's body, signed Freeway Phantom, reinforced the serial nature of the crimes. So, because Diane's case aligns with several core elements of the Phantom's MO, such as the age and demographic, a teenage black female, the time frame her death occurred on September 5th, 1972, and is said to be the final known killing of the series of murders. Location, her body was found along the I-295, the same freeway corridor that earlier victims had been found on. The cause of death, strangulation, and the missing footwear, shoes absent from the body, were somewhat his signature. Due to all these reasons, investigators have historically considered her the sixth and final victim of the Phantom. But despite the strong circumstantial ties, several forensic and contextual discrepancies have prompted scholars and detectives to question whether Diane should be grouped with the other 5 victims. First, main reason is the absence of sexual assault. All of the other victims were reported to have suffered sexual assault along with being strangled. Diane's autopsy showed no signs of SA, a notable deviation. 2. Semen evidence. While semen was recovered, investigators thought it was her boyfriend's and not the killer's, a conclusion that her boyfriend did argue against. But the lack of forensic confirmation leaves open the possibility that the semen does not indicate a typical sexual assault. Another reason is geographic nuance. Earlier victims were discovered near a cluster of freeways, sometimes within a tighter radius of each other, and while Diane's body was on the I-295, it was located miles away from what is dubbed the core cluster, representing a shift in the killer's disposal sites. And lastly, is the behavioral shift. The combination of a missing sexual assault component and the shoes being near her body indicate a change in the perpetrator's behavior or point to a different offender altogether. So here are some theories for who could be behind Diane's untimely death. One is the Green Vega Rapists, a gang involved in numerous rapes and abductions along the Washington Beltway. They were interviewed at Lorton Prison. One inmate offered insider details about a Beltway homicide, later verified, but later retracted after a political announcement. The second one is Robert Elwood Askins, a convicted murderer and serial rapist with a documented history of violence against women. Investigators noted his use of the word tantamount, matching language in a note left with victim Brenda Woodward. No physical evidence tied to him to the Phantom killings, and he died in prison in 2010. Next is Edward Selman and Tommy Simmons. They were arrested for the murder of Angela Denise Barnes, and it was a case initially thought linked to the Phantom, but was later ruled unrelated. And then, just as far as general leads go, the FBI, the Prince George's County, Montgomery County, all of them have pursued dozens of leads but have never secured an arrest in Diane's case. And none of the suspects have been definitively linked to her, and the investigative files remain largely unresolved. The case has stayed open with a $150,000 reward offered by the Metropolitan Police Department, and it was later increased to $300,000 after a 2023 podcast renewed public interest. So the murder investigation into Diane's case proceeded along the larger Freeway Phantom inquiry, and despite extensive collaboration among local police departments and the FBI, the case suffered from missing evidence, lost files, and the retirement or death of key investigators. By February 1976, the investigation was formally dropped due to a lack of indictments after 3 years of effort. Nevertheless, the case remains a cold case within the MPDC Homicide Division, and recent advances in DNA technology have been cited as potential avenues for resolution, though no public breakthroughs have occurred yet. Given the available evidence, any definitive identification of Diane's killer is really just speculation. The main theory is that she was the last victim of the Freeway Phantom killer because the shoes, the strangulation, the location of her body. However, the absence of sexual assault, the semen evidence that was never tested, and her disposal location being miles away from other victims create a credible argument that she could have been targeted by a different offender who was either mimicking the Freeway Phantom or just someone else entirely. The Green Vega rapist and Robert Askins remain the most prominently discussed subjects in a broader case, yet neither has been directly linked to Diane's murder through physical evidence or credible witness testimony. The lack of forensic link and the passage of time further complicate any conclusive attribution. Diane Williams' story is a poignant reminder of the complexities inherent in serial crime investigations, where pattern recognition must be balanced against individual forensic nuance. Whether she was truly the final act of the Freeway Phantom or the victim of a separate yet equally tragic crime may never be known, until new evidence, perhaps from advanced DNA analysis, finally brings clarity to the case that has lingered in the shadows. So let me know in the comments, do you think she was the last victim of the Freeway Phantom? Do you think it was someone else? Do you think it was the boyfriend? Do you think it was the Green Vegas? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know who I should do for E in the Unsolved Murder ABCs.